Sophia Martinez pulled her worn coat tighter as the Chicago wind cut through her like ice. The snowstorm had grounded all flights, leaving her stranded in a city where she knew no one. Her pitch meeting with Sterling Industries had ended with polite smiles and empty promises. Her marketing agency back in Los Angeles desperately needed this client to survive another month. The lobby of the Grand Millennium Hotel offered temporary warmth from the blizzard outside. Sophia knew she couldn't afford even their cheapest room, but the heated space was worth pretending she belonged there for a few minutes. "Miss, can I help you?" The concierge's eyes took in her expensive but well-worn coat, a remnant from better financial days. "Just waiting for the storm to ease," she admitted, dignity intact despite the embarrassment burning her cheeks. "All hotels within 20 miles are booked due to the convention and storm," he replied with practiced sympathy. "Give her the penthouse suite adjoining mine." The deep voice behind her sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. The billionaire's proposition? Sophia turned to face the owner of that commanding voice. The man stood tall and confident in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit. His dark eyes held hers with unexpected intensity. She recognized him instantly from business magazines and news profiles. Damian Blackwood. "I don't need charity, Mr. Blackwood," Sophia said, lifting her chin. His lips curved into a smile that transformed his serious face. "It's not charity." "Yes. I've been looking for intelligent company, and you look far more interesting than my evening of conference calls." Something about his direct gaze made Sophia feel both seen and desired. Against her better judgment, she found herself following him to the private elevator. "You know my name, but I don't know yours," he said as they ascended. "Martinez. I own Creative Edge Marketing in Los Angeles." His eyebrows rose slightly. "The agency that pitched to Sterling Industries this afternoon?" Sophia's heart sank. Of course, his company had connections to the business she'd failed to impress today. "Small world," she managed. "Interesting coincidence," he corrected, his eyes never leaving her face. An evening of revelations? The penthouse suite was larger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed the blizzard transforming Chicago into a snow globe. City lights glimmering through the white curtain. "Would you like a drink?" Damian asked, loosening his tie. Over expensive whiskey, they talked. Not about business or her failed pitch, but about art, travel, and childhood dreams. Sophia found herself laughing genuinely for the first time in months as financial worries temporarily receded. When Damian spoke about growing up as the son of immigrants who built their fortune from nothing, she glimpsed vulnerability beneath his powerful exterior. "My mother raised me to believe I could conquer the world," Sophia confided. She never mentioned how expensive the world would be to maintain. His laugh was rich and warm. "Is that why you started your own agency instead of working for someone else?" "Freedom has always been non-negotiable for me," she admitted. "Even when it comes with sleepless nights and an emptying bank account." Something shifted in his expression then, interest deepening into something more calculating. "How empty is that bank account, exactly?" The question should have offended her, but the genuine curiosity in his eyes made her answer honestly.
3
months from bankruptcy, maybe less. The innovation is there, but capital isn't. The impossible offer. They talked late into the night, the space between them on the couch gradually diminishing. Around midnight, she reluctantly stood to retire to her adjoining suite at her door. Damian leaned against the frame, studying her face with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "Have breakfast with me tomorrow," he said. It wasn't quite a question. "I should try to get back to Los Angeles." The next morning, Sophia knocked on the connecting door at precisely 9. Damian opened it immediately, dressed casually in a black sweater that emphasized his muscular frame. The intimate setting of breakfast by the windows made this feel dangerously like more than a business meeting. After they'd eaten, Damian fixed those penetrating eyes on her again. "I have a proposition for you, Sophia. Something much more personal than business." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I need an heir." Sophia nearly choked on her coffee. "Excuse me, I have a hereditary heart condition. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but it complicates my future planning." I've built an empire with no one to leave it to, and traditional relationships have proven challenging with my lifestyle. And this concerns me how? Sophia asked, pulse racing with confusion. Damien leaned forward, his gaze never wavering. Give me a child, and I'll save your business. The world seemed to tilt beneath her. That's insane, is it? I need a child with a mother whose intelligence and drive I respect. Our arrangement could be mutually beneficial. You can't be serious. I'm offering $10 million invested in your agency, plus all medical expenses covered and generous. Child support. You would have co-parenting rights, but the child would primarily reside with me after age 5. He rose as well, stepping closer. I'm not looking to hire you. Sophia, I'm proposing a partnership that solves problems for both of us. The kiss that changed everything. This is absolutely ridiculous, she said, yet couldn't bring herself to walk away. Think about it, he urged, suddenly close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. What would you sacrifice? For your company's survival? For the dream you've built? Before she could answer, his hand cupped her cheek with unexpected gentleness. The touch sent electricity coursing through her veins. Then, as if he couldn't help himself, Damien leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. The kiss was meant to be brief, perhaps businesslike, but the moment their lips met, something ignited between them. His mouth was warm, and when his arms circled her waist to pull her closer, Sophia found herself responding with an intensity that shocked her. The kiss deepened, his tongue teasing until she opened for him with a soft gasp. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Damien looked as stunned as she felt. Consider my offer, he whispered, his breath warm against her still tingling lips. I'll be in Los Angeles next week, and expect your answer then. Back to reality as Sophia gathered her belongings to leave, the ghost of his kiss still burning on her mouth. She knew with terrifying certainty that her life had irrevocably changed in the space of a single snowstorm. What frightened her most wasn't his outrageous proposal, it was how desperately she wanted to accept it. The flight back to Los Angeles passed in a blur. Her small but stylish office in Beverly Hills felt cramped after the luxury of Damien's penthouse. This was her creation, her dream built from nothing but ambition and innovative ideas. Jessica Chen, her best friend and business partner, found her staring at financial reports that evening. How'd the Chicago meeting go? Jessica asked, settling into the chair across from Sophia's desk. Complicated, Sophia replied, not knowing how to explain what had happened. Another rejection letter arrived the next day. Sophia stared at the spreadsheet. On her computer, the numbers blurring as she calculated how long before they would have to close the doors permanently. 3 weeks, perhaps 4. Not the 3 months she'd confidently told Damien. Her phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. Lunch tomorrow. I'm in town earlier than expected. Car will collect you at noon. The decision point. Sophia's fingers hovered over the screen. She should refuse, should delete the message, and forget him. Instead, she typed, when and where. His response came instantly. La Bernardine, 12:30. The Bentley arrived precisely at noon the next day. Sophia had spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing her outfit, settling on a form-fitting emerald dress that complemented her olive skin. She told herself it was armor, not enticement. La Bernardine's maitre d' led her to a private dining room where Damien waited alone, tall and imposing in a navy suit that made his dark eyes appear even more striking. You look beautiful, he said simply, pulling out her chair. This isn't a date, she reminded him, ignoring the flutter in her stomach. His smile held wicked promise. Of course not. Not just a business discussion. Yet the meal felt remarkably like a date. Damien ordered for them both, somehow selecting exactly what she would have chosen herself. The conversation flowed effortlessly, touching on philosophy, current events, shared interests. Only after dessert did Damien lean forward, his expression turning serious. Have you considered my offer, Sophia? She took a sip of wine to steady herself. It's completely inappropriate. Yet you're here, he noted, his voice low and intimate. To refuse in person, how close is your agency to failing?
The truth this time.
The question stung with its accuracy. 2 weeks, maybe less. Since I lost Peterson Media yesterday, he nodded. Unsurprised, I made some inquiries. Your work is exceptional, but undercapitalized, a common death knell for creative agencies. I research all my potential partnerships. His choice of the last word carried implications that heated her blood. Shall we discuss this somewhere more private? An hour later, Sophia found herself in Damien's Los Angeles penthouse overlooking the Pacific. Floor-to-ceiling windows displayed the ocean bathed in afternoon sunlight, but she barely noticed the spectacular view. All her attention was captured by the document. Damien slid across the glass coffee table. A contract. I find clarity beneficial in all relationships, he replied to her raised eyebrow. Sophia scanned the document, her business mind engaging despite her ethical qualms. The terms were extraordinarily generous. Her company would not only survive, but thrive with this investment. Through artificial insemination, she read aloud. Yes, no sexual obligation, he clarified, though the heat in his eyes suggested he wouldn't be averse to alternatives. Why me? She asked suddenly. Have any woman? Someone from your social circle? Someone without the complications of a struggling business? Damien moved to sit beside her on the sofa, close enough that his thigh pressed against hers. I need someone brilliant, driven, and healthy. Someone who understands ambition but values integrity. Someone beautiful enough that I find myself thinking about her when I should be focused on billion-dollar acquisitions. His honesty stole her breath. I don't expect an answer today, he continued, his hand covering hers on the contract. Take it home. Review it with your lawyer. His palm was warm against her skin, the contact sending ripples of awareness through her body. However, he continued, his voice dropping to a register that seemed to vibrate through her. I would like to know if there's potential for chemistry between us. For thoroughness, Sophia's heart pounded against her ribs. I thought artificial insemination made that irrelevant. Perhaps we could explore alternatives. She should stand up. She should leave with the contract and her dignity intact. Instead, Sophia heard herself ask, how would you determine compatibility? Damien's smile was slow and dangerous before he leaned in, his breath warm against her ear. I'd start here, he whispered, pressing his lips to the sensitive spot just below her earlobe. The gentle contact sent shockwaves racing
along her nerve endings.
Before she could protest or encourage him further, Damien pulled back, leaving her, breathless and wanting more. Consider carefully, Sophia, he murmured, his eyes holding hers with naked intensity. Some opportunities come only once in a lifetime. As the elevator descended to the lobby, Sophia pressed her palm to her chest, her skin still burning where his lips had been. The contract in her purse felt heavier than its physical weight, laden with implications and possibilities that terrified and thrilled her equally. She had decisions to make about her business, her body, and the impossible-to-ignore electricity. Damien Blackwood ignited with just a glance. Yet even as she stepped into the Los Angeles afternoon, Sophia knew her decision had been made the moment his lips claimed hers in that Chicago hotel room. Some forces were simply impossible to resist. 3 days after signing the contract, Sophia sat in Dr. Elena Vasquez's office, staring at the ultrasound screen that would change everything. The fertility specialist had insisted on comprehensive testing before they proceeded with artificial insemination. Congratulations, Dr. Vasquez said with a warm smile. You're already pregnant. The world seemed to stop spinning. That's impossible. We haven't done the procedure yet. The doctor's knowing look made Sophia's cheeks burn. Sometimes nature has its own timeline. Based on these results, I'd say conception occurred about 2 weeks ago. Chicago, the night she'd stayed in Damien's penthouse. The night they'd shared more than just conversation. I need to call someone, Sophia whispered, her hands trembling as she reached for her phone. Damien answered on the first ring. Sophia, is everything all right? We need to talk. Now. An hour later, he arrived at the medical building, his usual composure cracked with concern. When Sophia showed him the ultrasound images, his face went through a series of emotion shock, wonder, and something that looked suspiciously like joy. Chicago, he said quietly. Chicago, she confirmed. Apparently our business arrangement became personal before we signed any papers. Unexpected complications back at Damien's penthouse? They sat in his study, the contract between them suddenly obsolete. This changes everything, Sophia said, staring at the legal document that no longer applied to their situation. Does it? Damien's voice was carefully neutral. The outcome is the same. You're carrying my child, and I'll support both of you. But this wasn't planned. This wasn't part of our agreement. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. Sometimes the best things in life aren't planned, Sophia. Before she could respond, her phone rang. Jessica's name flashed on the screen. Have to. Take this, she said, stepping onto the terrace. Soph, where are you? We just got the most amazing news. Someone made a $10 million investment in our agency. It's an anonymous investor, but the lawyers say it's legitimate. Sophia's eyes found Damien through the glass doors. He was watching her with an unreadable expression. She told Jessica, ending the call. When she returned inside, Damien was pouring himself a scotch. You invested in my company anyway, she said. Even though the circumstances changed? A deal is a deal, he replied, not meeting her eyes. This wasn't a deal anymore, Damien. This became something else in Chicago. He finally looked at her, vulnerability flickering across his features. What do you want it to be, Sophia? The return of the past. Before she could answer, the elevator chimed. Damien frowned. His penthouse was accessible only with a private key. The doors opened to reveal a stunning blonde woman in designer clothes, her smile cold and calculating. Hello, darling, she said to Damien, completely ignoring Sophia. Hope you don't mind. I still have my key. Damien's face had gone stone cold. Victoria, what are you doing here? Victoria Sterling. Sophia recognized her now from society pages. Damien's ex-fiancée, the one who'd ended their engagement years ago. I heard through the grapevine that you're playing house with someone new. Victoria's eyes finally landed on Sophia, taking in her casual clothes and obvious pregnancy with disdain. While quaint, You need to leave, Damien said, his voice dangerously. Quiet? Oh, I don't think so. You see, I've been thinking about us, about the mistake I made. Victoria moved closer to Damien, her hand trailing along his arm. I was young and foolish. I'm ready now, darling. Ready to be the wife you deserve. Sophia felt sick, and not from pregnancy hormones. She could see the history between them, the familiarity in Victoria's touch. I'll go, Sophia said quietly, gathering her purse. Wait, Damien called, but she was already at the elevator. A mother's wisdom, Carmen Martinez, took one look at her daughter's face and pulled her into a fierce hug. Mia, what happened? In her childhood bedroom in East Los Angeles, surrounded by photos and memories of simpler times, Sophia told her mother everything. The contract, the pregnancy, Victoria's dramatic return. This man, Carmen said thoughtfully, does he love you? He did. But seeing him with Victoria, they have history, Mama. Real history. I'm just the woman carrying his child. Carmen shook her head. You're more than that, and you know it. The question is, do you love him? Sophia's tears came then, the ones she'd been holding back since leaving the penthouse. I love him so much it terrifies me. Then fight for him, Mia. Don't let some fancy woman take what's yours. Revelations in the rain. 3 days passed without contact from Damien. Sophia threw herself into work, using the new investment to expand the agency and take on bigger clients. She was reviewing marketing campaigns when Jessica burst into her office. You need to see this, Jessica said, shoving a tablet toward her. The gossip blog headline read, Tech billionaire Damien Blackwood spotted with ex-fiancée Victoria Sterling. Wedding bells again? The photos showed Damien and Victoria leaving an expensive restaurant together. Victoria's hand was on his arm, and they looked intimate, familiar. Sophia's heart shattered, but she forced herself to remain composed. Well, that answers that. Soph, I'm fine. I need to focus on the Patterson account presentation. But she wasn't fine. That evening, alone in her apartment, Sophia finally allowed herself to cry. She'd been naive to think a man like Damien could truly choose her over someone from his own world. The doorbell rang at 9 o'clock. Sophia almost didn't answer, but something made her look through the peephole. Damien stood there, soaked from The rain, looking more disheveled than she'd ever seen him. "I know you probably don't want to see me," he said when she opened the door, "but I need to explain. You don't owe me any explanations. We both know what this was, do we?" He stepped closer, water dripping from his dark hair. "Because I thought it was falling in love. I thought it was finding the person I wanted to spend my life with." The dinner with Victoria, Damien continued, was to make things crystal clear to her. To tell her there's someone else now, someone who matters more than any past we had. Sophia's heart began to hope again, but she forced herself to stay strong. And what did she say? She offered me everything I thought I wanted years ago. Status, connections, a wife who understands my world. His eyes never left Sophia's face. But I realized something that night. I don't want a wife who understands my world. I want a wife who makes me want to build a better world. He reached out, his fingers gently touching her cheek. "I want you, Sophia. Not because you're carrying my child, but because you've shown me what love actually feels like." Damien, I fired the lawyers who drew up that contract. I want to start over, do this right. Court you properly, earn your trust. Prove that what we have is real. The rain continued to fall outside, but inside Sophia's small apartment, everything felt warm and bright. "Stay tonight," she whispered. "Stay and hold me." Building something real, the next few weeks transformed their relationship. Damien courted Sophia like a man truly in love, bringing her flowers, taking her to small, intimate restaurants, spending hours talking about their hopes and dreams. He attended every doctor's appointment, his face lighting up each time they heard the baby's heartbeat. When they learned they were having a girl, Damien cried actual tears of joy that made Sophia fall even deeper in love with him. "I want to buy you a house," he said one evening, as they walked along the beach near his Malibu property. "I have an apartment. I want to buy us a house. Together, somewhere we can raise our daughter." The word "us" sent warmth flooding through her. That sounds perfect. But their happiness was interrupted by disturbing news. Robert Blackwood, Damien's younger brother, arrived unexpectedly at the penthouse one evening, his face grim. "We need to talk," he told Damien. "It's about your heart condition." Sophia felt ice in her veins. "What heart condition?" Damien's face had gone pale. "Robert, not now. The episodes are getting worse, aren't they?" Robert continued. "Adar Martinez called me. She's concerned about the stress levels, about what pregnancy and new relationships might be doing to your health." The secret revealed that night, after Robert left, Sophia confronted Damien. "Tell me about your heart," she said quietly. He was silent for a long moment, staring out at the city lights. "Long QT syndrome. It causes irregular heartbeats, potentially. Dangerous ones? Stress can trigger episodes." "How dangerous?" "Without proper management, it can be fatal." Sophia felt the world tilt. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to choose me out of pity or obligation. I wanted you to choose me for love. And now, it's the baby coming with all this stress." Damien turned to face her, his expression fierce. "Now I have more reason than ever to take care of myself. I want to be here for you, for our daughter. I want to grow old with you, Sophia." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "I'm managing it. New medications, lifestyle changes. Dr. Martinez says, with proper care, I can live a completely normal life. A proposal under stars 2 weeks." Before Sophia's due date, Damien surprised her with a trip to his family's vineyard in Napa Valley. The rolling hills covered in grapevines looked magical in the golden evening light. "I used to come here as a child," he said, as they walked slowly through the rows of vines, Sophia's hand in his. "My grandfather planted these vines with his own hands." They reached a hilltop overlooking the valley, where a table had been set with candles and flowers. As the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Damien took Sophia's hands in his. "I know we did everything backward," he said, his voice soft with emotion. "The contract, the pregnancy, falling in love. But I want to do this part right." He dropped to one knee, pulling out a ring that sparkled in the candlelight. Not the massive diamond she might have expected, but a vintage piece with sapphires and diamonds that looked like it had stories to tell. "This was my grandmother's ring," he said. She gave it to my grandfather when he was just a poor immigrant with big dreams. She believed in him when no one else would. Tears streamed down Sophia's face as he continued. Sofia Martinez, you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You showed me that love isn't a business transaction, it's a choice we make every day to build something beautiful together. He looked up at her, his eyes shining with love and hope. Will you marry me? Not because of contracts or babies or anyone's expectations, but because you love me enough to build a life together? Yes, she whispered. Then louder. Yes, yes, yes. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, their daughter kicked vigorously, as if celebrating too. Maria Santos, Damien's longtime housekeeper, found them the next morning on the vineyard terrace. Still wrapped in each other's arms as the sunrise painted the valley gold. Senna Damien, she said with a knowing smile. The doctor called. She wants to see Senora Sofia immediately. At the hospital, Dr. Amanda Foster reviewed Sophia's test results with concern. Your blood pressure is elevated, and there are signs of preeclampsia. We need to deliver the baby today. Sophia's hand flew to her belly. But she's not due for 2 weeks. The baby will be fine, Dr. Foster assured them. But we can't wait any longer. As they prepared for an emergency C-section, Damien held Sophia's hand, his face pale but determined. I want to marry you, he said suddenly. Ow. Before she's born. Damien, we can't get married in a hospital. Watch me, he said, already reaching for his phone. A wedding in the NICU 2 hours later. As their daughter Isabella Rose Blackwood lay in the NICU, tiny but perfect, Damien had worked his magic. Judge, a photographer, and Jessica, his maid of honor, gathered in the family room adjacent to the nursery. Sophia wore a simple white dress that Maria had somehow procured, and Damien looked handsome in a dark suit despite the stress of the day. Dearly beloved, the judge began, but Damien interrupted. Your Honor, if I may, he said, taking Sophia's hands. Sophia, 6 months ago, I thought I knew what I wanted from life. Success, legacy, control over every outcome. Voice broke slightly as he continued. Then you walked into my world like a force of nature, challenging everything I believed about love, about family, about what really matters. Sophia was crying now, happy tears mixed with exhaustion and overwhelming love. I promise to love you. Not as a business partner or the mother of my child, but as my equal, my best friend, my heart. Damien continued. I promise to support your dreams, to stand by your side in whatever comes, and to never, ever try to control or diminish the incredible woman you are. Through her tears, Sophia spoke her own vows. Damien, you taught me that love doesn't follow contracts or timelines. You showed me that sometimes the most beautiful things come from the most unexpected places. She squeezed his hands. I promise to love you through heart conditions and business deals, through sleepless nights, with babies and whatever challenges life brings us. I promise to build a partnership with you based on respect, trust, and the kind of love that makes everything else possible. When the judge pronounced them husband and wife, their kiss was interrupted by a nurse. Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood, your daughter is asking for you. The threat from the past. 3 days later, as they prepared to take Isabella home, Lucas Hartwell appeared in Sophia's hospital room. Damien's business rival was tall, silver-haired, and radiated the kind of cold ambition she recognized from their early contract negotiations. Congratulations on the baby, Lucas said, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. And the marriage. How romantic. What do you want, Hartwell? Damien's voice was ice. I want Blackwood Technologies. And I think your new wife deserves to know exactly what kind of man she married. Lucas produced a tablet showing financial documents. Did you know your husband has been liquidating assets to cover his mounting medical bills? That his heart condition is far worse than he's admitted. Sophia felt the blood drain from her face as she looked at the papers. Damien. His company is hemorrhaging money, Lucas continued smoothly. The investment in your agency? That was the last of his liquid capital. Mrs. Blackwood. And when he dies with his doctors, give him 2 years at most, he'll be left with nothing but debt. The truth about everything, after Lucas left, the hospital room fell into heavy silence. Isabella slept peacefully in her bassinet, unaware of the storm brewing around her. Is it true? Sophia asked quietly. Damien sat heavily in the chair beside her bed, looking older than she'd ever seen him. Some of it. Which parts? The medical bills are astronomical. The treatments, the specialists, the experimental procedures I've been trying. He ran a hand through his hair. I've spent almost everything trying to buy more time in your prognosis. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. 2 to 5 years, with aggressive treatment, be longer if the new protocols work. Sophia felt as if the floor had fallen out from under her. Why didn't you tell me? 'Cause I love you, he said simply. Because I wanted whatever time I have to be filled with joy, not fear. 'Cause I wanted to give you and Isabella the best life possible, even if I can't be there for all of it. That evening, back at the penthouse with baby Isabella, Sophia sat in the nursery feeling overwhelmed by everything she'd learned. Maria found her there, rocking their daughter and crying quietly. Signora Maria said gently, settling into the chair beside her, I worked for Senator Damien's family for 30 years. I watched him grow from a lonely little boy into the man he is today. Did you know about his condition? But I also know something Lucas Hartwell doesn't understand. Maria's weathered hands touched Isabella's tiny fingers. Love isn't about how much time you have. It's about what you do with the time you're given. What if he dies, Maria? What if I'm left alone with Isabella? Then you'll raise her to know how much her papa loved her. You'll teach her that true love means choosing someone not despite their flaws and limitations, but because of how they make you feel alive. Maria stood, placing a gentle hand on Sophia's shoulder. But I don't think you need to worry about that. Senator Damien has something to live for now. That's powerful medicine. The ultimate choice. The next morning, Sophia found Damien in his study. Surrounded by financial documents and legal papers, I'm selling the company to Lucas, he said without looking up. He's offered enough to clear the debts and set up trust funds for you and Isabella. And if you don't want to sell, and I fight him in court for years, spending money I don't have on lawyers while my health deteriorates. Sophia studied his face, seeing the defeat there. What do you want to do? I want to spend whatever time I have left with my wife and daughter. I want to teach Isabella to ride horses at the vineyard and show her the stars from the telescope I'm having installed. On the roof, his voice broke slightly. I want to make love to you without worrying about business calls or board meetings. I want to live, Sophia, not just survive. The power of partnership, then, we fight, Sophia said firmly. Damien looked up, surprised. We? You think you're in this alone? You think I married you for your money or your company? She moved to his desk, leaning against it. I married you because you're the smartest, most driven person I know. Because when you love someone, you love them completely. She picked up the financial reports. Creative Edge Marketing just landed 3 major accounts this week. The agency is thriving because of the foundation you helped me build. Sophia, what are you saying? I'm saying we merge our companies, pool our resources, fight Lucas together. Her eyes blazed with determination. I'm saying you taught me that partnerships work when both people bring their strengths to the table. Damien stared at her as if she'd offered him the moon. You'd do that? Risk everything you've built? Us. For our family. In a heartbeat. The final confrontation 2 weeks later, they sat across from Lucas Hartwell in a gleaming conference room, their lawyers flanking them. Isabella slept peacefully in her carrier between Sophia and Damien. I trust you've reconsidered my generous offer, Lucas said smugly. Actually, Sophia replied, sliding a document across the table. We have a counteroffer. Lucas scanned the papers, his confident expression faltering. A merger between Blackwood Technologies and Creative Edge Marketing, with joint CEOs, Damien added, and a combined valuation that makes your offer look like pocket change. This is ridiculous. A marketing agency and a tech company? The future of business is integration, Sophia said smoothly. Technology and marketing, innovation and communication. Wow. We're not just merging companies, Lucas. We're creating something entirely new. She leaned forward. Something you can't compete with, which is why you wanted to buy Damien out instead of facing him in the marketplace. Lucas's face had gone red. This won't work. When Blackwood dies, when I die, Damien interrupted calmly, my wife will continue running the company we built together. And Isabella will inherit a legacy of love and partnership, not just money. Love's Triumph 6. Months later, Sophia stood in the garden of their new home in Palos Verdes, watching Damien push Isabella's stroller along the winding paths. His latest medical tests had shown significant improvement. The stress reduction and happiness had literally helped heal his heart. Blackwood Creative, their merged company, had become one of the most innovative firms in the country, revolutionizing how technology and marketing work together. Penny for your thoughts? Damien asked, joining her on the terrace as Isabella napped. Just thinking about how far we've come, Sophia replied, settling into his arms. Remember when you offered me that contract? Biggest mistake of my life? He said, nuzzling her neck. Really? I should have just asked you out for coffee like a normal person. Sophia laughed. But then we wouldn't have this story to tell Isabella when she's older. True. Once upon a time, your father was an arrogant billionaire who thought he could contract for an heir. But your mother taught him that the best things in life can't be negotiated, they have to be earned with love. As the sun set over the Pacific, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Sophia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a desperate business arrangement to a love story that had transformed both their lives. Sometimes the most beautiful beginnings came from the most impossible circumstances. Sometimes love really could conquer everything, even contracts, medical conditions, and the fear of uncertain futures. In Damien's arms, their daughter sleeping peacefully nearby, and a lifetime of possibilities stretching ahead, Sophia knew they had found something rarer than fortune or fame. They had found forever. Epilogue. 5 years later. Amanda Foster smiled as she reviewed Damien's latest test results. Remarkable improvement, she told the couple sitting across from her desk. Your heart function is better than it's been in a decade. What does that mean for his prognosis? Sophia asked, holding 5-year-old Isabella on her lap while her other hand rested on her growing belly. Their second child was due in 3 months. Walk her down the aisle someday, too. Outside the medical building, Isabella skipped between her parents, chattering about her upcoming birthday party and her excitement about becoming a big sister. Daddy, she said, tugging on Damien's hand, tell me the story again about how you and Mommy met. Damien and Sophia exchanged amused glances over their daughter's head. Well, Princess, Damien said, scooping Isabella up, it all started with a very silly contract and the smartest, most beautiful woman your daddy had ever seen as they walked toward their car. Sophia reflected on how perfect their imperfect beginning had turned out to be. Sometimes the best love stories started with the worst business deals, and sometimes, just sometimes, happily ever after was exactly what it promised to be, happiness that lasted forever. The end.
Since you guys have watched the entire story, I want you guys to give us your feedback, let us know how you feel, and we would really like to know if you guys would comment us and share with us how we can improve. Obviously, I feel everybody in this world knows there's room for improvement. So if you guys let us know with your feedback how we can improve, we will definitely work on that.